Imagine walking down a high street where Woolworths sits on every corner, where you could buy a pick and mix, a top 40 single, and a school uniform all under one roof. Today we take a look at 10 vanished British high street shops that an entire generation still misses. Woolworths was perhaps the most beloved shop on the British high street. It first opened in the UK in 1909, modelled on the American five and dime store concept. The idea was simple: sell a wide variety of everyday goods at prices ordinary families could afford. At its peak, Woolworths had over 800 stores across Britain, selling everything from music and toys to clothing, homeware and sweets. The pick and mix counter became its most iconic feature, a wall of plastic bins filled with penny sweets that children would fill paper bags with on Saturday afternoons. Woolworths also played a major role in British music retail, selling chart singles at affordable prices when record shops were out of reach for younger shoppers. The stores had a particular smell, a particular feel that became inseparable from British childhood. When it collapsed in 2008 during the financial crisis, it was the largest retail failure in British history. Over 30,000 jobs were lost almost overnight. British Home Stores, better known as BHS, opened its first shop in Brixton in 1928. For decades, it was a fixture of town centres across the country, selling clothing, homeware, and furniture at mid-range prices. Its in-store cafes became particularly popular with older shoppers who treated a trip to BHS as a full afternoon out. The cafe alone kept many customers coming back long after they had finished browsing. BHS was especially known for its school uniforms and its Christmas decorations, which became a reliable annual tradition for many families. The chain struggled for years under a series of owners before finally collapsing in 2016, closing all 164 stores and leaving 11,000 people unemployed. C&A was a Dutch-owned clothing retailer that operated on the British High Street for over a century. At its height, it had more than 100 stores across the UK. It was particularly popular in the 1970s and 1980s for affordable fashion and children's clothing. Many British shoppers remember buying school shoes, winter coats, and party outfits there. The stores were large and well organized, making them easy to navigate on a busy Saturday. C&A never positioned itself as fashionable. It positioned itself as reliable, and for millions of families that was exactly what they needed. The chain quietly closed all of its UK stores in 2000, withdrawing from Britain entirely without much fanfare. The brand still operates across Europe to this day, but never returned to British streets. Blockbuster. Before streaming existed, Friday night meant one thing: a trip to Blockbuster. The video rental chain arrived in Britain in the late 1980s and quickly became embedded in weekend culture. Families would browse rows of VHS cases, sometimes spending more time choosing a film than actually watching one. The new release wall at the front of the store always drew a crowd. Blockbuster also rented video games, which made it a destination for younger customers throughout the 1990s. The late fees became notorious, a small charge that could mount up surprisingly quickly if a tape was forgotten over a long weekend. As broadband speeds improved and services like LoveFilm and later Netflix took hold, the business collapsed. The last UK Blockbuster store closed in 2013. Our Price was a British music retailer that dominated the high street throughout the 1980s and into the 1990s. It sold vinyl records, cassette tapes, CDs, and music merchandise. At its peak, it had over 300 stores nationwide. For music fans before the internet, Our Price was where you discovered new artists, browsed chart releases, and spent your pocket money on a Friday afternoon. The staff often had strong opinions about music, and conversations at the counter could stretch on far longer than intended. The chain was eventually absorbed by rival retailers as the music industry began its shift toward digital. By the early 2000s, Our Price had disappeared entirely from British streets, taking a certain kind of music culture with it. Littlewoods began as a mail-order catalogue company in Liverpool in 1932 before expanding into high street retail across the following decades. Its shops became known for affordable clothing and household goods, particularly popular with working-class families across the north of England. The Littlewoods catalogue was a staple of many homes, a thick, heavy publication that arrived twice a year and was pored over by entire families. Customers could spread payments across months, making larger purchases feel manageable on tight budgets. It was one of the earliest forms of consumer credit that ordinary people could actually access. The retail stores closed in 2005, when the company refocused on online operations. The catalogue itself, a feature of British homes for over 70 years, was discontinued shortly after. Index was a catalogue-style shop that allowed customers to browse a large printed catalogue in store, place an order at a counter, and wait for the item to be brought out from a stockroom. It was a format that made expensive goods feel more accessible to everyday shoppers. Index stores could be found in most large town centres throughout the 1990s, often sharing space within larger retail parks. The concept was similar to Argos, but never achieved the same level of brand recognition or loyalty. Customers would sit on low plastic chairs, flipping through the catalogue with a small pencil, circling items, and filling in order slips. When Littlewoods restructured its business, Index stores were either converted or closed, and the brand quietly vanished by the mid-2000s. Athena was a poster and print shop that became a cultural institution on the British High Street from the 1960s through to the 1990s. It sold art prints, greeting cards, and novelty gifts, but it was best known for its iconic posters. Images like the tennis girl and the man holding a baby became defining images of their era, hanging on bedroom walls and student flats across the country for decades. Browsing Athena was a ritual for teenagers, rolling a poster into a cardboard tube and carrying it home felt like a statement. The shop had a particular atmosphere, unhurried and slightly arty, that set it apart from the rest of the high street. Athena had over 300 stores at its peak. Changing tastes and the decline of the physical poster market led to its closure in 1995. Quick Save was a no-frills discount supermarket that served British shoppers from the 1960s onwards. It was one of the first chains in the UK to focus entirely on value, with minimal store decoration, no-frills shelving, and a strong focus on branded goods at the lowest possible prices. Shoppers who remember it fondly often describe it as basic in the best possible way. No pretension, no unnecessary extras, just affordable food. At its peak, it had over 900 stores, making it one of the largest grocery chains in the country. It struggled to compete as Aldi and Lidl arrived from the continent, and the largest supermarkets launched their own budget ranges. Quick Save entered administration in 2007, and its remaining stores were closed or sold off within the year. Virgin Megastore were a fixture of city centres across Britain from the 1970s onwards. Founded by Richard Branson, these large entertainment stores sold music, films, games, and books across multiple floors, often in converted buildings that gave them a sense of occasion. They were destinations in themselves, places where you could spend an entire afternoon browsing without necessarily buying anything. The Oxford Street location in London was one of the most visited retail spaces in the country, attracting tourists and locals in equal measure. Listening posts allowed customers to preview albums before purchasing, which felt like a luxury at the time. As digital downloads replaced physical media, the business model became unsustainable. The UK stores were sold and rebranded as Zavvi in 2007, which itself collapsed and closed in 2009, marking the end of an era for British entertainment retail.